Welcome to Soundbreaker. I'm your host, Bob Shammy, and we're about to break the silence. Join me as we go behind the scenes and meet some of the most influential names in the music industry. Get ready for remarkable success stories that break the norms and defy the odds. From dreams to success, from challenges to victory. An exclusive backstage pass into the lives of music trailblazers as they create their own path to success. This is Soundbreaker. Welcome to Soundbreaker. On today's episode, we're talking to Arie Burshtein, who is a groundbreaker in the music industry. Thanks for joining us. For our listeners who might not be familiar with you, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself?
Hey, Bob.
Or what do you do?
Yeah. Hey, Bob. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me on the show. I'm really excited. I've watched a few of the episodes on Spotify, and I have to say it's a great show. It's really interesting. So I'm really, really excited to be here.
My pleasure.
And so to tell a little bit about myself, not to get too much into the details, I'm first and foremost, I'm a songwriter. I'm a producer. I've been very lucky to make a living from that as well for almost 20 years now. I have a lifelong collaborator who's also my wife. So I'm very lucky. I actually get to work every day with my wife, Netani Modi, as part of the duo called Amber Revival. And we basically do everything together. We run a publishing as well, a publishing company, together with DWB over in the UK and with Sound Graphics in Japan. We produce for other artists. We produce for ourselves. We're also top liners for electronic music. So some would even say a bit all over the place, but we enjoy it. And I would even say professional multitasker. And also, I'm also a consultant A&R for major labels and indie labels. I help them basically develop projects from scratch, or sometimes they bring me in to salvage whatever is needed. And I also help artists throughout their careers.
Whoa. Thank you for the summary. Definitely, we're going to get into details.
Thank you.
Interesting. Love the collaboration. I guess this is the best collaboration in your life. 20 years.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, yes, knock on wood to you and your wife. Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I would like you to take us back a bit. You have a very interesting background and very diverse, which make it actually more interesting to know. For our listeners and for us also, and for myself, who's doing the interview, I find it very fascinating and interesting. Let's go back to your childhood. How did you start it with the music business? What was the trigger point in your life that say, this is why I love? Was it your parents in the music or something you find it somewhere along in school, college, your passion for it?
Well, it's actually very interesting because let's just say the way I grew up, I was not meant for a music career at all. My entire life, I was addicted to martial arts. I was doing a lot of taekwondo and judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu and, a lot of MMA. Well, I didn't actually do MMA fighting, but a lot of training. And I was sure that was going to be my life. I wanted to train in it and I wanted to be
black belt. Should I say black belt?
I almost reached. Now that's where it gets, I was just about to, basically, I was in 10th or 11th grade and I was about to do, my black belt in jiu-jitsu and my black belt in Krav Maga as well.
Wow.
And then what happened was, and this is a really interesting story. I mean, I've been doing music my whole life, very musical family, luckily. We always played the piano and guitars and we always had some kind of musical instrument around, but I never really got into it until one day I was sitting at a friend's house and he had just gotten a set of drums. And I remember that moment. He let me hook up his electric guitar. It was an Ibanez, I remember, and I started playing the Nirvana riff to Teen Spirit, down, no. And suddenly, from nowhere, he jumped on his drums and he started playing the Dave Grohl intro, and he started drumming with me. And I remember this moment of just pure, I can't even explain it. I had never felt something like it. It took over. And I remember that day, basically it was it. I decided I want to be a musician. That's what I want to do.
You found your soul. That's it.
Yeah. And I basically left my training behind. My trainer was very kind and he was like, hey, you found a new passion, And from there on, just from the age of 16, I just made music every single day and I got into songwriting very quickly as well. So.
Wow, very interesting. So obviously out there, if anybody who try to take any publishing from Arie, be careful. He'll take you down. He's good at grappling. Amazing. Yes. As you reflect on your time as part of the duo, with your wife Amber, revival, both in Israel and Germany, for almost 10 years, and what were some of the lessons you learned, in this period as a singer, songwriter, and a producer?
I think the most valuable lesson we learned, the both of us,
Yes,
and also for me, I think the most valuable lesson was you don't deserve anything. Basically, it was me who decided to have a music career, and it was my responsibility to work hard at it and to push forward. And just because somebody won't respond to my emails doesn't mean that person is a bad person. It just means that I'm not at the top of that priority, top of that person's priority list. And that's okay. I'm not saying that you have to be mean in this industry, but this industry has a lot of people who want a lot of people eyeing for the top, a lot of people aiming. And if you want to make it, basically, it's on you. You can step away anytime. You can step away at the age of 30. You can step away at the age of 40, 50, whenever you want. But you don't deserve anything just because you're talented or just because you wrote a good song or even because you had a hit, I mean, I remember the first time we had a #1 Billboard hit in Japan. The next day we
yes,
got up and we started writing again. It was like nothing happened. And I remember that was what we said to ourselves. It doesn't matter. We don't deserve anything. So I would
amazing.
definitely say that.
This is something would validate what myself and my business partner we talk about all the time. Is a lot of people feel the entitlement. They think because you're talented or you accomplish one thing, you're entitled, which is absolutely well said. The first one ever said it on our show, that entitlement should be taken out of your head, out of your vocabulary, and just you
Completely.
got to be humble and do the work. Amazing.
Exactly.
Well said.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you.
I guess a lot of the martial arts discipline, actually affected your way of how do you deal with life and business, later on in life. And it shows.
You know,
This is amazing.
it's
Yes.
interesting to say that because
Yes.
I never really thought about that, but my wife actually mentioned it. She's like, "You're very
Yes.
disciplined." I'm like,
It
but
had to do a lot with martial
yeah,
arts.
yeah, I guess so. I
Yes.
mean, I've been very lucky, So,
Yes.
and to be honest, again, we worked hard, and any
Yes.
kind of success we had, I understand was
Yes.
because of our hard work, but also because of luck. And it
Yes.
could have been anybody else. So anything that happens, any kind of success we have, we say thank
Yeah.
you, we're grateful, and we keep on working. That's the rule, you know? That's the #1 rule for us.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I wouldn't call it luck, or I would call it hard work, persistent and disciplined. And you just kept showing up every day. You stay at it, and you're still doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Absolutely. This is great. Um, Moving forward, you were signed as a songwriter with Concord Music in Berlin,
Yeah.
Germany. Were there any notable projects during this time that you could mention?
Oh, actually, Concord was a very interesting time in general because we were signed I think about a month or two after we moved to Berlin. We had moved to Berlin for a music career, because Berlin is basically is the epicenter, I would say, the cultural center of Europe. And we moved here. And then we were signed basically 2 months after that. And to really mention one project would be funny because we did so many projects at Concord,
Wow.
and thanks to the amazing team over there that we had, and if I can just give a quick shout out to the people that really gave us our first
Please.
chance, it
That's
was
what we were here for.
Andrew Campbell from Steam Publishing, which partnered up with Concord Concord back then, and Jens Markus Wegener, who was the managing director, and also Leos Chancharas, who was the A&R, who now actually is A&R over at Universal and here in Germany. And he's a good friend now, after, I can really say, I'm proud to say, after 10 years of working with them. And they were the first ones to sort of look at us and be like, you know what, you are talented. You're not there yet, but with enough development, you could get there. And they worked our butts off. I mean, they
Wow.
were ruthless with us. Like, we would send in songs after we were already signed, and they would say, not good, not good. Especially Leo was very, very honest.
Hmm.
But then once we started hitting, the right note, as you say,
Yes.
the projects that started coming in, we did I mean, we wrote for TV over here for like the biggest TV shows for a show called Super Talent, which is we basically wrote unofficially, I would say, or more. I mean, we wrote the anthem of the of what is called like the German version of Germans Got Talent, America's Got Talent,
Yes.
and it was called the song Ready to Go. And we wrote the
Yeah.
festival for a really big dance festival here, and we
Wow.
wrote twice for the Eurovision Song Contest.
Wow.
And we had several hits in Poland. Everything that came through Concord,
Wow.
you know, just these connections that happen. And again, because we just said yes to everything, you know, they would send in, "Do you want to do this?" And we'd be like, "Let's go." They're like, "Do you want to know the
I
details?"
love
And we
your
would just
work
say,
ethic, buddy. I
"Thank you."
really, your work ethic's
well,
amazing.
well, thank you.
I
It's a
love
lot.
that. I love
Neta is a
that.
lot, you know. It's
Definitely
yeah,
aligned with what we believe in.
yeah, exactly. Well, I
Yes.
appreciate that. And yeah, and so the most memorable moment would just be them signing us and just giving us a
Yes.
chance.
Did you also write any? Well, for our listeners, because I've been to Germany many times, I was going to
Mm.
ask if you wrote any Schlager. Schlager is the
Ah,
folk German folk music.
yeah. It's like the Schlager
Yeah.
is like the country. Well, I wouldn't exactly say the
Yeah.
country music of Germany, but it's
Yeah.
like the pop, the folk
Correct.
music of Germany.
Yes.
No, we ourselves did not because
Uh huh.
it's a little bit like Nashville. You know, it's like you have to really know your craft. But we do have good friends who write the biggest hits over here, and they're
Uh
very
huh.
happy to
Uh
do
huh.
it. So
I'm
yeah,
sure.
they're great songwriters, and we get along. But we've never actually worked together in the studio because I mean, obviously, it's two different crafts.
One of the uh, one of my favorite Schlager songs was, what is it called? Eins, zwei, Polizei. uh, I guess we're having a bit of normal difficulties, but it's okay.
Yeah, no worries,
Technical difficulties.
no
Yes.
worries. Yeah.
Um, you know the song I'm talking about.
Oh, I didn't hear you actually.
Um,
Sorry. I guess.
so you later worked as a senior A&R for Sony Music Germany,
Yeah.
which is very impressive.
Thank you.
Um, could you please share some of the memories about that time and how this experience influenced you sign and develop talent?
Yeah, Sony was a very, very interesting time and it was very, I mean, it was completely unplanned. Actually, I got the gig after just scrolling LinkedIn middle of the night and this message popped up. You know, those messages on LinkedIn where it says, "Hey, this
Yes,
job might fit you."
correct.
And
Yes.
I knew the A&R over there. I mean, Max, great A&R, great producer also, by the way, from Munich. And I was like, "Is he leaving?" And I'm like, "Okay." And then I'm like, so half as a joke, I sent in my CV just to see like, because I've never
Yeah.
worked for corporate. I've never done that before. I've never worked for a big company. I've
Yeah.
always been independent. And I sent in, and I think even for my intro, they asked me to write a short intro. I wrote a joke. I literally wrote in a joke because I thought I'll never get the gig. You know, I'm not a corporate guy.
Yeah.
And I got a call back, and I'm like, "Hey, do you want to, you know, would you like to talk?" And then they basically explained to me that they wanted to build up, you know, an electronic label over there at Sony. And since I do have a lot of experience with electronic music, I said, "Hey, you know
Yeah.
what, let's do it." And then we went through the process. I met also with the CEO over at Sony, and I sort of presented my vision for what an electronic label in Germany and Europe can be, and they liked
Yeah.
it. So I got the gig. And once it started, I was I wouldn't say aggressive, but I was, you know, first one in, last one out. That was my attitude basically at the office.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
within a very short amount of time, I got some very big acts to sign to the label. I mean, I think the biggest one within 2 months was a DJ called Fede Legrand, who is one
Uh
of the
huh.
world's biggest artists, and I got him to sign a track with us. And
Wow.
actually, I was even surprised that he agreed. But I still have a good relationship with their management. I think I hope that, you know, I was just able to present, you know, my vision, and they liked it. And we worked with great artists over there still. With Iman Beck, a Grammy Award winning Iman Beck had a single with us on that label. And
Hmm.
I was very lucky also to work with Hardwell, to work on a project, and some other really great artists. Also some smaller artists like Mellow Kids from Poland, who I really, really appreciate.
Hmm.
And how the way it changed my perspective was, I think the, the the biggest lesson I learned working for a company like Sony is I finally got to see behind the curtain. For me as a
Yes.
songwriter and as a producer for, for almost 20 years, I was always the one sending in the songs, right? And working with the A&Rs to sort of work on the project for the artists, etc.
Hmm.
And for me to suddenly be on the other side, I also have to say I developed a sort of I developed more empathy for A&Rs
Hmm.
and
Yes.
for the corporate side. But I
Yeah.
also have to say that I didn't stay for a long time. So I was there for 6 months, and it was going very well. But in
Yeah.
Germany, they have a trial period of 6 months, and after 6 months, it was very clear that I am not a corporate guy. I should not continue at least full time at Sony. But I would definitely say that it changed the way that I understand major labels better now. I understand why they
Yes.
are the way they are, and I also understand why indie labels are the way they are, and it's okay. I would definitely say that I'm nicer to them now. I'm not, I don't have this attitude of, oh, those major labels, they just want to take my money or they just want to screw us over. No, I actually understand why they, make the decisions. I don't always agree with them, but
Yes.
it's okay.
Amazing. I mean, for our listeners who we're going to be inspired by after this for this interview with you,
Oh, thank you.
are they're going to see that you should never give up. Look at you, from producer and music writer all over Europe to an A&R. I'm not surprised the next interview we'll do, you'll be a CEO of some major label somewhere in Europe.
Well, who knows?
Definitely.
I'll be more than happy to come again to the show and
As a
talk about it.
co-owner and A&R of NVA Love Publishing, and also a director of a song cartel music, consultancy, and you achieved top positions on Billboard charts. Can you tell us about the NVA Love Publishing song and the song cartel and its collaborations with renowned companies, including Universal Music and Sony? Please. I hope the
Um,
question is not too long.
no, 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 no. The question is not too long, and to be honest, I mean that's what it entails. And well, I'll first of all talk about NVA Love Publishing. NVA Publishing
Please.
is a pretty new publishing company that It's a project that my wife and I, Netta, my partner, are developing together with
Yeah.
DWB over at UK. DWB
Yeah.
Music have been our publishing partners for about 5 years now, or 4 years. They're lovely people, very, very committed to their writers, and also very committed to the people they work with. Very honest and transparent. They're, sometimes you meet people and they're handshake people. If you shake hands, it's a deal. So
Yeah.
that's the kind of people they are. So that's sort of why we also
Amazing.
decided to open our publishing company within their network.
Yeah.
And what we do at NVA Love Publishing is we're trying to do things a little differently. And what we're trying to do is, instead of telling the writers what to write, basically briefing them on, like, this is what we have. We listen to the catalog of the writers that we have at NVA Love and also at DWB together, and we try to think for them, where would their songs work, because sometimes you'll get a writer who has a specific ability, and when you listen to it, and if you as a publisher do your homework, you actually can say, oh, I think this could really work over in France. Maybe we should
Yes.
find a French lyricist, take the melodies and sort of change. And a lot of times this works. I mean, for us, it worked in Japan, So
Correct.
why not do this for other writers? Because you meet a lot of songwriters who are really, really just, I mean, they're just at the end of their line, and they're just saying, I can't do it anymore. I send in my songs, they're great songs, and everybody agrees they're great songs, but they never get cut, with the artists. So our job as a publisher, I think, is to be very active, very proactive, and to find the
Yes.
territories for the songwriters, instead of them trying to fit into the territory where they, just are, because music is a worldwide language.
It is.
Where,
It is.
I write for, I we work with people in the Netherlands, we work with people in the States, in the UK, in Japan. I barely work with people in Berlin, and I live in Berlin. Just because music is this international scene, and everything happens online. So that's about NVA Love. Song Cartel is sort of the subdivision that we developed also at NVA Love.
Hmm.
Where I also added my own experience as A&R over at Sony Music, and we're a consultancy company. We loved helping young artists find their way inside the industry. Again, a little bit like what we do at NVA Love, but we also, with Song Cartel, we also help major labels like Universal and Sony, and also other companies that I can't always mention, unfortunately, right now, at least,
Yeah.
because we're right now in the middle of.
And I see your network in Europe. I mean, we'll say worldwide, but especially in Europe, very solid network that you have that allows you to expand your work and your talent and all of that.
Yeah, networking is probably, I would say at least 50% of the job. You have to network. If you can't as yourself network, find someone who can network for you, because and networking is not just about, kissing butts, sorry, yeah? It's actually
Yes,
developing real relationships with people who actually trust
correct.
you.
Yes,
I
yeah,
always tell, younger artists and younger songwriters, if you have to be open to creating real relationships, because some people you work with, you'll be working with them for 20, 30 years sometime. And if
correct.
and if you go and you stab someone, in the back now, 30 years from now, that person could be the CEO of a company. And not
You
even
never
for
know.
exactly, not
Yeah,
even not even for a self-centered reason, just for for basic human reason. Just try to be nice, and try to always, if you're making money, try making money for the people around you. That's always sort of like the best way to do it.
yes,
you know
absolutely, absolutely, yes.
yeah.
I mean, so far you had an incredible journey, really.
Thank you.
You and your wife, I guess, because you're both a team and you work
Yeah,
together.
thank you so
Um,
much.
let's see. The music industry is known for its challenges and setbacks. Can you share a difficult moment you faced in your career, and how did you overcome it?
Well, there are a lot of moments, I'm not gonna lie.
Share some. Share some,
A lot of
please.
moments. I would say one of the hardest moments, and was in 2018, 2017.
Yeah.
We had just gotten a song into the Eurovision for the first time.
Hmm.
Now, all politics aside, it was for Russia. Now, I'm just going to put that straight out there. This was
It's
before,
okay.
this was when Russia was part of the Eurovision.
Yeah.
This was way before everything that happened. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we got the song with Russia. We were very excited because the Eurovision is all about not being political. You write for a country,
Yes.
you work, and it's
Correct.
all about
Uniting
connecting. And
everybody. Yes.
exactly, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but what happened was the Eurovision itself, the competition was in the Ukraine, and I'm not going to get too much into the details, but Russia was barred from going to the competition. Now, that
Back
meant
then.
for back then in 2017, the singer, for some reason, she couldn't enter the Ukraine. And what that meant for us on a personal level is that our song was basically, it was kicked out of the Eurovision that year. We couldn't
Ooh.
participate, because she couldn't go. And I don't mind, like, I don't, I'm not going to talk again about the reasons. It's just I'm going to really just stay focused on like what it did to us on a personal level and also on a creative level. It really was devastating, because for me, growing up, participating in the Eurovision was a
A
lifelong
big thing.
dream. I mean,
Yes.
it's a huge competition over in Israel as well. I think we won 3 or 4 times already, and it's a big music festival. So we got a song
And a
in,
big door opener.
absolutely, and it was a
Yeah.
dream. So, and then they didn't even tell us. We read through the news that Russia was barred and that the singer was barred, and then like she was banned from participating. And our co-writer called us up. Back then he used to live in Moscow, and
Hmm.
Leonid, he called us up and he's like, "I'm sorry," and we're like, "What are you gonna do?" But I put on a strong face. But the next day I was devastated. I'm like, "This is terrible. This is one of my biggest dreams I've ever wanted to do, and we already got it, and for reasons that had nothing to do with us, literally nothing to do with us,
Yeah.
we couldn't
Wow.
go."
Hmm.
And actually, so what happened was the next year, 2018, the same singer got to go again, and it was in Portugal. And they asked us to try and write again. And
Oh,
in the beginning, we were like, "But we already had a song. Like, why do we have to like try
do
out
that all
again?
over
That's kind
again.
of unfair.
Yes.
Like, why don't you just
Can
take?"
we use the same song?
Exactly. Or why don't you just take one of our songs? Like, why do we have to try out again if we already got it again? But we said, you know
Yes.
what, we strapped on our boots and we said, no, we're in it from the beginning, as if nothing happened. And we did get the song this time after a while. And we did go
Yes.
2018, and we did participate. And it was one of the most amazing experiences we've had. We met so
Love
many
it.
people there, and I mean, it was something that it was a once in a lifetime experience. And if people go to my Instagram
Yes.
page,
Yes.
Instagram.com, Arie Burshtein, you'll see the white outfit that I wore for the live show, because we were also the backup singers on stage, and they created this amazing, well, this crazy white suit for us, which was just, I mean, yeah. So we got to be on stage and everything. So
Ari, I know you mentioned a couple of times in the interview, you said the word luck. No, it's your determination.
Oh,
Ari
thank
Bernstein,
you.
determination. You're
Oh,
very
thank you,
determined, my
man.
friend.
Thank you, Bob.
Yes,
I really
that's what it
appreciate
is.
it. I really, really
Yes,
appreciate it.
yes, I like that. This is some of the stuff that between me and my business partners we always value and we always go by. These are the certain, our rules in business and
Yeah,
determination and the drive and the persistent and being
yeah,
stubborn in a positive way, obviously, in a
absolutely.
good way. To thrive
Absolutely.
forward.
Absolutely.
Yes,
And also
amazing.
putting your ego aside, like,
Yes, yes,
again, it
always,
doesn't matter how
always
much success you've had. Every day is a new day. You have to prove yourself to
correct.
yourself and to the other people every day
Yes,
and so that's
no
our attitude.
entitlement, no
No
entitlement.
entitlement whatsoever. Never.
Yes, yes,
Exactly.
yes. What is the common misconceptions people have about the music business or the music industry?
Well, entitlement, that would be definitely the first one, a lot of again. But I think the main misconception I'm gonna some people are gonna be pretty angry about what I'm gonna say is,
It's
but
okay.
the biggest
Please.
misconception about the music industry is that people believe that, well, I'll start over again. The biggest misconception of the music industry is that people actually know what they're doing. Most people
Yeah.
have no idea. And I'm not talking about the people who know what they're doing and they're basically holding it all together. There's a small group of people in the music industry who are holding it all together. The rest have no idea. And I've seen it live at major labels, indie labels, publishers, everything. It really, really amazes me how little knowledge people have about the music industry, copyright law, royalties, how the system works in general. And even at really high positions sometimes. I'm really thrown back. I'd be at meetings with people, and I won't mention any names, of course, but I'd
Is it a
mention
mess? Is that what you're saying? Is it a big
the
mess?
music industry is, my professor at university called it unorganized crime, which really made me laugh because he said, it's so bad, it's not even organized, The music
This
industry,
is amazing.
yeah.
I never heard that one, but I will use it definitely.
Yeah, Dr.
Unorganized
Davy
crime.
Ray Moore, one of the best, one of the good guys, and he
Yes,
laughed. He called it unorganized
yes,
crime, and it's a little bit
yes.
like that. Of course, there are some people like the CEO of Sony who I appreciate deeply, Patrick. But he really knows what he's doing, and he also has a big
Uh-huh.
heart, and so. But some of these people at the high positions, they have no idea. And so, what I would say to artists, to songwriters, and people working in the industry who are starting their
Yeah.
way is, whenever you send out an email, you know, if you feel like the people answering or replying don't know what they're talking about, they probably don't know what they're talking about. So again, put your ego aside. Don't be offended. If they don't reply, they're either ignorant, stubborn, or you're kind of scaring them, because sometimes a lot of talent also scares them because a lot of untalented people work in the industry as well. So
Hmm.
again, just, toughen up, just keep on going and find the people you like working with and just keep pushing. So yeah, the biggest misconception I would say is that that people actually know what they're doing.
Um, would you say that we do need the help of AI to kind of organize and get rid of that slogan? If it's not broken, why fix it?
I'm a I'm a big fan of AI, to be honest. In general, I think and this is actually, I also wrote, Net and I, we actually wrote our master's paper about AI a few years ago, about AI in the music industry, which is very interesting because we came to the conclusion, and I still believe in that AI is a tool for music making and for everything. It's a tool just like anything else that has been created so far to create music. I mean, if you look at it, notation was a
Yes,
technology developed to write down music that you had in your head. So now,
yes,
then, fast forward, we had tape recorders, then we had Pro Tools. I have an idea in my head, I can transfer it to Pro Tools. AI is just another tool that we can use to create the ideas and also to work, to collaborate
and
with.
all the
So
modules that they used to use in the studio with all the
on
sounds.
everything. I
Yes,
mean,
to create
I
all kind of music. Yes.
absolutely. I mean, I just tried out, to be honest. I mean, I don't know if I can mention any like products, and I mentioned like plugin products like that I
Yeah,
use in the
yeah,
studio. So we
yeah.
just tried out. We just got the new Ozone by Isotope. Ozone is the mastering plugin. They have this AI tool. I mean, they already have it for a few years, but honestly, this year is just amazing. the AI, the ability to master a track nowadays with Ozone just blew me away. I mean, we've been working on a demo and stuff that we would have to really work on the mix and everything for very like really
So
mix
it
and
made your
master.
life easier,
Not only easier,
correct?
yeah, absolutely. It made our life easier, and it
Yeah.
basically gave us the ability to make more songs a day, meaning that we have more of a
And
chance to
better.
make money.
Yes.
Better.
Advancement.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Advance.
Exactly.
Yes. That's the whole
Exactly.
idea.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um, Collaboration is often a key element in the music world, and you're a big fan. You've been collaborating with the love of your life for over 20 years.
Yeah.
But can you? Oh, sorry if I interrupted.
No, no.
Yes. Amazing. Um, I'll get back to my question again. You know, collaboration is a major thing and a key element in the music industry. And I know you've been collaborating with the love of your life for over 20 years. But can you share a memorable collaboration or story with someone that you work with that left an impression, an impact on you?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, as you mentioned, collaboration is the way I live my life. I'm a devout collaborator. Whereas, how does Netta always call it? She says she's a serial collaborator. Exactly. And except for collaboration with her, I would say that one of our latest collaborations with a Dutch duo from Holland called Helsloot. They are both trance producers and they're up and coming. And we had a track with them that we did a year ago that we top line. And we didn't really think about it a lot. And they sort of, I mean, we've known them for a while just over the internet. And and it was signed to Armada, the track eventually, by Armin
Oh,
van Buren. And
oh,
Armin van Buren actually heard it and took it to his personal boutique label inside of Armada called Armine. And again, we didn't think much. I mean, we were very excited to be part of the project, but we didn't really think that anything will happen. We just said, okay, it'll be released. It'll be fun. It'll be good to.
absolutely.
But it went viral, that track. I mean, the song right now is nominated for Tune of the Year at A State of Trance, which is the biggest radio show, which is Armin van Buren's radio show. It's one of the I mean, basically, it's one of the top listers over there on the show. And it was, I mean, people reacted to it like, they've been saying amazing things about it. We hit the viral Spotify in Norway and in Finland with a trance track, not a pop track, right?
Mhm.
So this sort of collaboration with them, it happened and I know I might sound a little cheesy, but it happened out of pure love to music.
No, it's not
It
cheesy at
happened
all.
without any sort of
That's what you're
boundaries,
passionate
and
about.
so for me, that collaboration is one of the most unique collaborations we ever did.
Great,
Which,
great.
yeah,
I know you kind of answered part of that question, but technology has significantly changed the music landscape and how the advancement in technology influence your work and the music industry as a whole. I don't know if you heard me. Should I
yeah, yeah.
ask
Sorry, now I
again?
heard you. Yeah, yeah, I heard you now. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
How have advancements really influenced just the way
yeah.
that we?
Technology.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
How has this
technology
with us and how?
significantly changed the music
Yeah.
landscape. Yeah,
Would you?
and
Yeah.
I'll ask it again. Yes. How have advancement in technology in the music industry influenced your work and the music industry as a whole? I know you mentioned in the studio now you're able to use certain tools that has AI in it to makes you produce better, makes you produce more songs, and
Yeah.
make life easier for you in the studio.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, except for the studio stuff. I mean, on an A&R level or consultancy level, I would say the data tools you have nowadays, like Song Stats or Vibrate, are just incredible. I mean, the amount of uh, when if you're not lazy, the amount of information that you can collect through these tools to make
Hmm.
good decisions, business decisions also as well, like before investing in a project or even giving
Great.
something a chance, are
Hmm.
absolutely incredible. I mean, back in the day in
Um,
A&R, you would have to trust your gut. Now,
yes.
I still truly believe that in A&R, at the end of the day, your gut decision is the right decision. Like, is the track good? Is the song good? Is the artist good? But, however, with the technology that you have nowadays, with the data, data analysis tools that you have, again, like Vibrate or like SongStats, um, you can really, really make a wise decision, and it leaves more room for your gut. Basically, I would say that the more technology we have to analyze the data, the more room we have now. I hope, at least. I mean, for me, at least, we have to use our gut to eventually to
Hmm.
make the decision in the end.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Listen, Ari, how do you stay updated to the latest trends and innovations or changes in the industry, and how important to continue to learn?
Well, I try my best to really stay. I'm very lucky because we also have our publishing company. We get to work with a
Hmm.
lot of young songwriters and producers. So, and we're always, anytime a new plugin comes up or anything, I'm like, oh, what's that? Tell me about that, And when you work with a lot of younger people, Gen Zs, they will send you funny stuff on Instagram, or like, hey, check this out, or check this out, or have you heard about this and this artist? And basically, I trust them to basically feed me with all the new information, because we have this good working relationship where they trust us because we're experienced, but I trust them to introduce us to new stuff, and whatever's happening, the latest trends. For example, I learned
Hmm.
the word Riz through them. I didn't know what Riz means. Basically, something that has to do with charisma, I guess. I don't know. I still don't understand exactly the meaning of it, but they use it all the time. So,
Uh-huh. Interesting. Riz,
yeah,
you said?
yeah,
I don't know
Riz,
the word. Oh,
something,
Riz.
Riz,
Okay.
Rizz, something with charisma. Someone who has
My
Riz.
business partner younger than me, so maybe he knows, but he never
Exactly.
told me Riz.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he's, yeah. Just ask him like, hey, do I have? Ask him if you have Riz, I guess, or something like that.
Yes, I definitely will. Um, uh, a lot of people gonna, yes, amazing. A lot of people going to be inspired by this interview. Absolutely inspired. Of your stories and your up and down, and how do you just the whole thing. Just your journey itself is amazing. Um, any tips for people who actually, when they watch the interview and the show, and they're going to get inspired by you, and say, hey, I want to follow some of the footsteps that Ari did, and all of that. Any tips for them? Any advice that kind of help them carve their own path in this industry and make their own mark?
I think one of the best things to
Hmm.
do as a young and aspiring artist or a musician is
Yeah.
learn your craft, but not only on a musical level, but also understand what you're up against. Meaning, if you want to write songs, no copyright law.
Hmm.
You have to know it. I'm not saying you have to know it at the level of of an attorney, but know what you're signing, know what you're reading, know what that means. Because you can be very talented, you can get signed, you can get a great contract, you can have money in the
Yeah.
bank, but if you signed away your rights without knowing that you signed away your rights, it's not
It's
going to
done.
matter. So from a very young age, copyright law, what's the difference between a master recording, publishing, neighboring rights, do neighboring rights, how do they work in the States versus the UK, what is the difference between, UK common law regarding to music, and, how does American copyright law work? Really know
Hmm.
those differences before you enter a territory, even as a young age, because if you know that, sky's the limit, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Great advice. You've been in the music business on both ends. And um, what do you foresee the music? I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, if you can, the music industries, the distribution end of it, like, how do you foresee it? You work for a major label, you were independent. How do you see the whole distribution thing going in the next 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years from now? What's your prediction, or what's your look on it? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I'm sure sometimes you sit alone and you think and you say,
Yeah, I think major labels, um, will sort of be these, I think distribution-wise, what will happen is there will be a lot of small companies
Hmm.
working through the big companies, through the big distribution company, through the big major labels. I mean, you can see it by, when, Sony, they purchased Orchard distribution
Hmm.
and AWALB distribution. Universal, I think, are starting or already started what is called the Virgin Group or Music Group or something like that. Basically, all the major labels now are opening their own distribution services because they understand that artists don't want to sign with the major labels necessarily, but they do want sort of the ability to network, to use that network, to use that size of a
Hmm.
network. And
Hmm.
I think what will happen is it will be a lot. It will be a lot of individual people working, basically using the services of the big companies.
Hmm.
And I think also distributors like DistroKid and things like that. I mean, they'll still be there, of course, but
TuneCore and all of that.
TuneCore. I think at the end of the day, it really depends on what happens with Spotify, Apple Music, and all these companies next few years, because they are basically leading the way on what these companies decide. You know,
Yes.
but
What about TikTok? You don't think TikTok has a major, major
oh,
influence in how this
absolutely,
will how should I say turn?
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, people, TikTok already when I was at Sony was like this big, everybody was talking like TikTok. This is like the major big investment, and if you look now, it's even crazier. Um, I don't want to, like you said, I don't want to predict anything that people will call me out for eventually, but I do think that major labels will be more type of service providers in the future for even the bigger artists in the future, if they're not already. I mean, at the end of
Hmm.
the day, major labels, most of them, they hire the same people that an independent artist can hire as well. So they'll basically just be like this group of, like I said, service providers, and that's how you're going to distribute.
Yeah, interesting. Um, before we wrap up this great interview that we having together, and I'm actually enjoying it.
Thank you. Me too.
Um, Anything you want to plug in that you coming up with? Any new project? Anything you want to mention? Talk about? Just that you've been working on or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been working on a bunch of projects. A new compilation is coming out. It's going to be the new State of Trance 2023 year compilation mixed by Armin van Buuren himself on Armada,
Mm-hmm.
and our song "If You Only Knew" together. I mean, Amber Revival with Hellslode "If You Only Knew" is going to be featured on that compilation. We're very excited. It's one of those compilations that I've always wanted to be on. So
Well,
we're
congratulations!
thank you,
Amazing.
thank you,
I can't wait to listen to it.
thank
Absolutely,
you,
I
thank you so
definitely can't
much.
wait. Um, Well, I want to say thank you for joining us today. This concludes today's episode of Soundbreaker. Please make sure to follow us on social media or all the social platforms. And we're also available on Spotify and YouTube and all of that. And stay tuned for our new episodes. And thank you again and see you. This podcast is presented by Music Dash, world's first AI-powered independent distribution CMS. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share the Soundbreaker podcast. And if you are joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.